The mission today is go to the gym with only this pair and my water bottle. And yeah, totally fail. Hello friends, welcome back. This is Jessie and I'm already excited to give this trick today. Even if you never bought anything from TOZO, you've definitely heard of them. I mean, even the products from 2021 can still hit crazy number on Amazon. The only words here are damn, that's wild. So, is the difference between the TOZO NC20 and NC20 Pro really just the touch screen? Yes. And no, the new touchscreen does bring a whole bunch of new experiences, but I still don't really get the point of making the case control so complicated. Is it supposed to replace your phone? Because no matter how they upgrade it, you still need your phone to connect the earbuds. And actually, when I tried it, it's even more confusing. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what the NC20 actually proves over the NC9 and what the Pro version adds and how the earbuds perform and where they rank at this price point. Alright, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a cool one Jessie in the comment so I know you're here. The charging case from the NC9 already has a noticeable upgrade compared to the early models. I keep it in the same drawer as the NC3, but around the same time, and honestly, the NC9 aged way better. And the NC3 is basically a collector of the fingerprint. Touch it a few times and it looks greasy forever. And you can't wipe it clean. Super plasticky. The NC20 keeps that glossy, matte, hybrid finish, but with a nicer polish. Yes, it's still a dust magnet, but at least it wipes clean with one swipe. And I didn't intentionally try to make my life difficult by choosing this black one. It was literally the only color, which drives me crazy in my era. I really want to see what the other colors look like. If anyone on this channel bought a different color, please share a post in the community. And now the screen size. I can actually imagine the engineer's mindset.
Team, the only thing we can upgrade is the interaction system. So let's borrow the concept from the JBL Tour Pro 3. It's one twice the price, so people doesn't pick ours. And since we are already doing such a big redesign, why release just one version? It's make sure using the same mode.
And that's how we ended up with the NC20. Same battery display with NC9, but blown up into a giant screen. But the top and the bottom covers don't line up very perfectly, so the gap around the glass is pretty noticeable and kind of sharp. It also feels like it's going to collect a lot of dust and grime in the edge over time. So honestly, in terms of user experience, there is not so much difference between the NC20 and the NC9. And here the earbud shell does help the passive noise cancellation. It's slimmer and it sits deeper and fits better in the ear canal. But don't think I'm praising it too early. Compared to something comfortable like the OnePlus Buds 4, the NC20's body is still big. It pushes against the outer ear canal and gets painful. It's tighter and more uncomfortable than the NC9. But part is subjective. You all know that I have small ears, so I feel discomfort more easily. And the microphone setup also adds an external feedback mic on the top, making it more responsive to ambient noise. And the NC9 is different from most bean-shaped earbuds. Its noise cancellation relies almost entirely on ANC. The nozzle is short, so it doesn't take advantage of that sealed canal-fitting design, which typically bean buds should have. In normal mode, the NC9 basically has no noticeable isolation. Turn on ANC and you get around a 20 decibel of low frequencies, which sounds like roughly a 30% drops overall, while the highs barely change. So yeah, the first time I tried the NC9, I genuinely wondered where exactly is the NC. Upgrade on the NC20 is much more obvious. First, you get stronger passive isolation at the cost of some pain, but even in a normal mode, it knocks down both lows and highs by about 20%. Turn on the ANC and although the official spec says negative 52 decibel, and my real-world result was around 33 3 dB. The depth doesn't reach their lab numbers, but average reduction is around 30 dB. On paper, that's pretty much on the same level as the OnePlus Buds 4. In real use, about 90% of the low-frequency noise disappears, and the highs becomes dull and muted. The Buds 4 handles high-frequency noise very differently. It uses its chipset to thin out the sound so the presence feels lower, so you can clearly feel the difference in bass algorithm quality. And the internal feedback mic also highlights the gap. When walking, the NC20 picks up the footsteps vibrations through the bone conduction, and it's very strong, so every step goes thump in your head. And the Buds 4 cancels that in real time, so when the ANC performance is this close, the more comfortable OnePlus Buds 4 ends up being the better noise cancellation choice overall. In standard mode, the NC9's low end sits mainly close to your ears and doesn't really stretch across the whole soundstage. Even though it's switched to a 9mm dynamic driver, the bass punch is pretty weak. Vocals feel small and muffled and grainy. For example, Taylor Swift's Red feels like it's stuck in your throat, unable to really explode it out, and highs are a bit sharp and thin with limited detail. At this price, the overall sound just doesn't stand out. Switch to the pop mode, vocals come forward, but the texture is still lacking. Blues mode spreads the lows out, but the vocals turn into this almost Telegram style sound. This is why I often say I'm not a fan of aggressive EQ. Standard mode usually delivers the most stable sound your drivers can manage, and checking modes tends to compromise what's already working well. With the NC20, the sound quality is a clear step up. The overall soundstage is still fairly low and flat, a sort of compressed oval shape, but the new DLC diaphragm paired with the titanium dual magnetic dynamic driver delivers better resolution and tighter control. And thanks to the shape of the TOZO soundstage, the frequencies don't interfere with the others as much. Bass drums are clearly positioned. You can distinguish between the different types of the drums. You can feel the surge feeling of the bigger ones and the crispness of the small ones. And the spread is well defined. The downside is that the bass fluctuation is noticeable, and if it's too heavy near the ear, you feel that the ear pressure effect. The vocal sibilance control is excellent. Peaks are pushed back and making the vocal feels younger and brighter and detailed without harshness. Female highs can still sound maybe a slightly dry and sharp. High-frequency instruments have more extension, and you can catch extra harmonics and details. The sound is crisp and bright. For K-pop or more complex arrangements, the performance is just okay, but it works best with the pop or simple vocal-driven tracks. Switch to pop mode, it emphasizes the vocals while cutting the lows and highs, and the thinness of the vocals becomes more obvious, degrading texture. Switch to bass or blues to boost the low end, and you'll notice that the bass spreads loose energy. And honestly, the main reason these EQ modes can't fully click is their unusual flat soundstage. Even with 12mm diaphragms, they haven't managed to create a sense of spaciousness. When you first get a TOZO NC20 or the Pro, pairing is as simple as opening the charging case. Switch device is a bit different. You'll need to press the button, and the NC20 takes around 8 seconds, while the Pro requires a long press to access options like power off, reset, and the factory restore. You can also reset through the settings. The screen interaction is smooth and the latency isn't too bad, but it's a little bit more troublesome to operate it, and the app itself is pretty versatile. You can decide which functions show up first, and even upload a wallpaper to give your case a personal touch. Basically, the same stuff as the JBL's Tour series, which has 4 edges. When setting a background image for those cases, the connection can be unstable. Sometimes it will pair left ear and sometimes it's right, so don't connect while setting it up. And now, talking about the connectivity, I noticed a quirk. I was wearing the earbuds in the bathroom and suddenly hear the music playing. Usually, once connected, earbuds stay stable as long as you within Bluetooth range. Okay, in the most condition, the transceiver sits inside each earbud, but TOZO moved the Bluetooth transceiver to the charging case to sync the data and control. What that means is your earbuds connect to the case, and the case connect to your phone, and all three needs to work together for a stable connection. So when some reviewers say you can just bring the case and the water bottle to the gym, either they're just taking photos or they've just got a private gym. Otherwise, the Bluetooth connection will definitely fail. And TOZO also adds some AI-powered feature that sounds impressive on paper, but the reality is more shaky. Everything depends on how well the microphones pick up the sound, and the weak audio often just gets misinterpreted. How do you feel the sound? So the NC20's noise cancellation is definitely the top tier for its price, but it's not going to beat something like the APP3, which comes to the immersive feeling, which really needs some advanced algorithms. So that said, whatever the balanced choice like the Earphone Air Pro 4 or the Melobuds Pro don't stand a chance against the NC20. Not many TWS can claim a single-use battery life of 30 hours plus 80 hours with a case, and even with the ANC on, it still hits around 28 hours. I didn't push it to the absolute limit, but after using it for about 4 hours in the afternoon, it's only dropped 10%. Insane. On top of that, it's IPX8 waterproof, meaning that you could immersive it over a meter deep for over like 30 minutes. So yes, technically you could swim with it, but underwater the Bluetooth won't work, so maybe just soak in the hot spring instead. Maybe the sound quality isn't the strongest point, but it's perfectly fine for everyday use. And all things considered, at $49.99, it's hard to find a more capable all-rounder in this price bucket. If you're thinking about upgrading your earbuds and aren't super picky about the sound or a tiny bit of the background hiss during your calls, but you need some solid ANC and crazy long battery life, this is a strong pick. Just be aware, comfort can be subjective. As for the NC20 Pro, it basically turns the earbuds into a little toy. Sure, the extra customization and playful feature makes the operation slightly more complicated, but that's also what makes it tempting to buy. And about a third of the price of the JBL, it's hard not to get curious. And that's it for today's video. Thanks for sticking with me. If you found this helpful, don't forget to JC in the comments to show your love. And your likes are the biggest way to cheer me up. And if there's any TWS or wireless earbuds you want me to compare, leave a comment or join my Discord. I also post my testing updates here, so hope to see you there. See you in the next video. Goodbye, JC.